So the ACCC today, and the ACCC, our old mate Rod Sims, just loves telling tech companies and telcos what to do and waving fingers all about.
Loves to be mentioned in those stories as well.
Doesn't he just? Loves a press conference. Dare I say he's keen to go, what can I talk about today? Yeah. Now, so he comes out and says that Google was created a system essentially where it was too hard for users to say, no, my data's not to be shared with others. Right. Is that a design fault in the Android phones, or how's it?
Yeah, I think it's a fundamental flaw. I actually think he's on the right track with this one.
For once.
Yeah, well, maybe a few times out of the dozen. But so the thing here is, there's a lot of stories over the last few years about being tracked and our data and all that, and people are worried. So what people were doing is getting an Android phone and going, all right, it's Google, it's a Google phone, I'm going to opt out of this stuff. And they'd go to the setting, you see it on an iPhone, it says location, and you turn it off, and you go, no, I don't want location history. Turn it off. Done. And they go, well, I feel good now, and, you know, Google's not tracking me. Turns out they were still tracking you.
Wow.
Because there was another setting you needed to turn off called web and app activity. Now, no human in their right mind would think web and app activity had anything to do with location history. So that's what Rod Sims and the team at ACCC are saying. They're saying, how could a user who willingly said, I don't want my location history shared, off, then find out later that Google did know more about them, where they were, what they were doing, because of what their web activity and their app activity was telling Google about them. So, you know, we take it upon ourselves to opt out of something, which in and of itself is quite rare, unfortunately. People don't really bother to go in and opt out of all the privacy settings on Facebook, let alone Google. So when they did, they weren't being untracked, and I think that's a massive problem for Google.
So, OK, so Google's now in a scenario where they've been told, got to change it, got to say sorry, got to give us money.
Yeah.
When little old Australia tells massive Google that the rules here are different than, say, the US or the UK, does Google say, are they able to change something just for Australia? Because I'd imagine data, that's the whole business.
That is their... These things are free. Like, we pay for the phones, but the operating system is broadly free. Google Search is free because we're worth something.
Correct.
We're worth something to them. It's the same reason Facebook doesn't charge us every month, because we're all worth $20 a month to them. So the reason, that's why they want to track us. I don't think they would change this just for Australia. I think they would look at this, and they probably already have. I'd have to look at a more recent version of Android to know, but I'm tipping they've already made subtle changes in the background that make this, given all the drama of the last 24 months, if not 12 months, I think they've all started to pare these things back. So Australia's clout in this sense is very low. My real question here is, so let's say the ACCC wins. Now, some of these cases that they're bringing forward are in the old regulations. Some of them are in the new, which have huge fines, potentially, for Google. But which Google are we suing?
Correct.
Australia Google, Ireland Google, America Google? Because I'm tipping Australia Google don't make that much money compared to Ireland Google and America Google.
And Bahamas Google.
Yeah.
Very,
you know,
Singapore
They're
Google.
doing very well.
They're very focused.
So who are we getting 10% of?
Yeah.
So is it really just a kind of an antitrust thing where the ACCC is just having a win for win's sake? Like, do we really need the money? I don't know that the fine's going to change anything for Australian consumers. What the ACCC needs to do is actually force a change here. If they've already done that, if Google comes out and says, we've made these changes and we're sorry, I mean, fine them, but not going to make a dent in, let's pocket change for Google, whatever we find them.
So can I ask two silly, slightly paranoid questions?
Yeah.
In this very private setting.
Yeah, it's just me and you.
Just you and me, all right. We're doing okay, not... but anyway,
Hi, Mum.
Obviously, I mean, the whole product of the internet is that, as you say, if it's free, the reason it's free is because they want to know what you buy, what you look for, what you order. So first things first, if you didn't pay for it, expect that the point of the thing for free is that.
Yeah.
Secondly, this tracking that happens, I'm not entirely sure what the value in that is, apart from maybe working out, you know, the average person travels this many Ks or goes to the shop this many times or whatever you're able to break down.
Profile building. Right. So if you go, and I couldn't tell you the exact link, but if you Google, you know, my account or Google settings, you'll actually be taken to an area where you can see what Google thinks of you. Wow. So whether you're a registered user or not, it will actually tell you your profile. So I have a Google account, so they know my name and they probably know my actual address because it's registered. But what they'll also do, I've never told them how old I am and what my interests are, but they will build a profile of you and it will scare the heck out of you. Because it'll say you're between these ages, it'll say you're single or you're not, you've got kids or you're not, you're interested in these things, here you want to travel to. It knows a lot about you because of what you look for, what you read, where you go on the internet. It's a profile building thing. And the reason that's valuable is because for a person that they have 3 bits of information for, that person's worth $5. For a person they've got hundreds of bits of information for, I'm worth 50. So there's a value, just random numbers, that's a value to having that information. So that's why they want to gather stuff. So let's say you had turned off that setting, which was good, but the other ones were on. They probably still know the Wi-Fi networks that you sleep near, because your phone is sitting still for the hours of 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. Tick, he's asleep there. There's 6 Wi-Fi networks. Oh, he lives next door to that person because that's the same Wi-Fi network. They can learn a lot about you from just Wi-Fi, let alone anything else. Do you charge your battery every night? Which telco you're with? There's so much information that allows companies to then advertise to you.
So, simple plug. Is there something on your website that'll tell people how to turn off data?
No, but I'll write something tomorrow. But
it'll be there.
Look, the bottom line is...
Just because, there's a lot of people who need the step-by-steps.
Absolutely. In an iPhone and an Android phone, it isn't easy. It's always buried a little bit, but it's settings, and then you want to look for privacy or location. One of those 2 things is going to drive you into these settings.
OK, before we get to this lovely little bit of kit that you were not going to review, embargo, but I'm just going to say it exists, is... does that help?
Not sure, actually.
I don't know, it's technical. It's very technical. But so there's a lot of people who use apps like... And look, I freely admit, I love the latest version of the... something like Waze.
Yeah.
It'll tell you there's an accident 10 k's up the road, or this is happening around here, or those apps where you just go, where's the nearest chemist?
Yep.
Those things. If you're not using those apps, so you're just driving around with them, but they're keeping an eye on the speed or anything like that, are they tracking you?
Yep.
Are they tracking you when you don't have those apps open?
Probably not, no. So most of them will not work in the background. So a Waze, for example, does need to be open for it to be doing the kind of tracking and knowing where you are. But there's a lot of other apps, and this is the problem with the Google phone too. A lot of apps, and for example, the digital driver's license today for New South Wales, the Google version asks for a ridiculous number of permissions that they certainly don't need. And so because they've got those permissions, and it could be any silly game that you install, like a Candy Crush style game, it might get your location, it might get information about your telco that it doesn't need, but it's a data collection agency. That's what it's all about.
EFTM.com and .com.au?
.com's fine.
.com. EFTM, when he writes it, I'll link it on our Facebook page, all right? Because, we're going to help the man out with some clicks, baby. What the heck is this little toy that you have right now and are not going to review?
This is the Samsung Galaxy Fold. Goes on sale tomorrow.
So a phone in that...
Yeah, so here it kind of looks broadly...
They're running the video.
Broadly, oh, there you go. So it looks broadly like a normal phone here. The back has a camera on it. The front has a screen on it, and you can use the front screen to make calls, do what you want. But when you want something more, you open it up, and I'll just unlock it with my fingerprint, and we've got ourselves, a normal phone. So, we can... I'm nervous to open things that you might have just opened, Paul, but, I can scroll through Instagram. But I actually think the value of this, from my limited look at it, is just a bigger screen for commuters. You're on the train, you're watching a video, you're on the bus, you're reading newspapers or you're reading the web. It's an amazingly big screen for that. Small screen on the front, big screen on the inside, big price tag though.
That's the first Android phone I would ever want to own.
Really?
Like, seriously, like opening it and all the rest, and to touch it means I'm reviewing it on television. I'm not allowed to do it.
Paul, you read a lot during a day because you're just constantly consuming news. I think that's what this is for. I think it's for people who are just constantly reading things, sharing things. You can have 3 apps open at a time. So there's a lot to like about it, but I think, we'll have to wait and to see how it works in daily use before people want it. But $3,000, mate, it's a lot of money for a phone. The most expensive iPhone is $2,500, but in Samsung's defence, it doesn't open up and unfold.
If only I knew somebody who knew people at the company and would be able to get a spare one for himself. Thank you, Trevor.
Lovely, Paulie.
I'm not reviewing the product. No. Not reviewing the product.